In many ways, my children's father was a good man, but he didn't love me the way a man should love his wife. Unbeknownst to me, he was in love with another woman when he married me. He waited several years for her to leave her husband, and she wouldn't. So he married me because, as he told me later, he thought I'd make a good mother. Since he didn't truly love me, my husband didn't want me physically. I was defrauded and cheated on almost from the beginning of our marriage. And one day he was angry with me about something. I can't remember. And he yelled at me, F you. He said the word, but you know. So anyway, I quipped back, promises, promises. He laughed because even in his anger, he recognized the humor. Promises, promises. That's what we all should say to Yahweh. He has made more promises than you can shake a stick at, and most of them have failed. I could talk about how Jesus hasn't returned, yeah, even with the eclipse, but that's not what I'm referring to. Yahweh and Jesus made promises to us about the here and now in our daily lives that we can clearly see have failed miserably. For instance, Isaiah 54:17, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. And Psalm 91 states that those who make Yahweh their refuge don't have to fear terror at night or the arrow by day. They don't have to fear pestilence or any kind of destruction. It says 1,000 may fall by their side and 10,000 on their right hand, but the destruction won't come near the follower of Yahweh. No plague, and in fact, no evil is supposed to befall Yahweh's pets. The angels watch over them and bear them up if they should cast their foot against a stone. They can trample on lions and adders and dragons. And get this, they'll also have a long life. Now, I know people like to say this is just a prophecy about Jesus. Well, if so, it definitely fell miserably in his life, didn't it? He had a very short life and a lot of misery came upon him. The truth is, these passages are bold claims made by Yahweh, or supposedly made by Yahweh anyway, that he protects his people. And he obviously thinks he can live up to his promises. But does he, Christians? Answer me, does he? I mean, if he did, more people probably become Christians. But you know he doesn't, don't you? Well, you should know anyway. I mean, if you're very old at all, life ought to have taught you that Yahweh's promises fail. If he did live up to them, then when a gunman enters a church and starts shooting left and right, 1,000 could fall by the side of a Christian and 10,000 on the right hand, but no Christian would be harmed. Not a true Christian anyway. If you're harmed, then you obviously are not a true servant of Yahweh. Isn't that right? According to the Bible, it is. Oh, I know those words probably don't mean what they say, or I'm taking them out of context, or hey, maybe they should be taken metaphorically. Yes, yes, these outlandish promises probably just mean that even though you'll be shot and killed, it doesn't matter because you'll keep on living, just in heaven rather than on the earth, which is far, far better. Well, let me tell you something. One of two things is true. Either the passages say what they say and mean what they say, or they don't. And if they don't, I'm kind of sorry God would say such things and really just mean, well, death is no big deal, so don't worry about it. Jesus made the same kinds of promises to his followers. Imagine if you told your child, as Jesus told you, that he could play with a venomous snake and receive a deadly bite, but he wouldn't be harmed. Or he could drink poison and it wouldn't have an effect on him. And imagine if all you really meant when you said this to your child was, "Well, yeah, you'll die, but that's no big deal." I'm sorry, but that sorry excuse, it doesn't really mean what it sounds like it means. Can't be trotted out every time Christians don't know how to deal with biblical passages that the rest of us bring to their attention from time to time. They know, surely they know, that the promises of their gods fall far short of what reasonable people would expect. Surely they know this. Weapons work just as well against those who follow Yahweh as they do against the rest of us. We all die when we get shot badly enough. None of us can survive a deadly snake bite. And Christians die young the same as non-Christians do. We all know that. Now here's another lovely passage. Exodus 15:26. And said, if you will diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord your God, and do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you, which I brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. Oh, isn't that nice? If you're a Christian, a real Christian, that is, whatever that is, then you should never even get sick, let alone be shot or have an arrow pierce you. Remember how someone said, COVID won't come to the United States. We're a Christian nation. We all know how that turned out, don't we? And yes, sadly, both Christians and non-Christians were afflicted, and many died. There is no protection, not from weapons, nor from falls, nor from diseases, for followers of Yahweh. He either lied or he simply thought he could do something he had no power to do. Let's talk about one more failed promise of Yahweh. Or, well, this one comes from the sweet mouth of precious Jesus. John 15:7. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you'll ask what you will, and it'll be done for you. Oh, I know. If it doesn't happen, it's because you asked amiss and wanted something to consume on your own lust, right? That makes for a good answer, huh? Yeah, you probably have sin in your life. I mean, that'll stop your prayers from reaching heaven for sure. And everybody has sin in their life. So this is a great excuse for Yahweh. Oh, or maybe you're not getting along with your wife. I mean, maybe you're not honoring her as the weaker vessel the way you should. That right there will definitely hinder your prayers. Or maybe you just don't ask long enough and hard enough. If you aggravate Yahweh long enough, he says he'll give you what you want, just shut you up because you're getting on his last nerve. Well, Jesus said that anyway, and he ought to know. Or you might not get what you ask because you don't have enough faith. Jesus said if you believe, you'll receive whatever you ask for. And that's even if you ask that a mountain be cast into the sea. I mean, that's one big failed promise right there. Wait a second. Sometimes you have to fast first. Anyway, if you have some of Yahweh's demons or the evil spirits that he likes to send into people, and you want Yahweh to make them go away, you really need to fast along with your prayers. Oh, yeah, another thing. Sometimes you just have to get somebody else to pray with you. Jesus said that if two of y'all agree about what you want, it'll be done by his dad. Oh, no, I forgot something. If you ask for something and it's not Yahweh's will, well, you're just out of luck. What you want has to be what he was going to do anyway, because it was his will to do it. Think about that one with regard to your own children. Imagine saying to your child, well, you didn't get what you asked for because it wasn't what I wanted to do. And imagine you didn't even say that to your child, but instead you simply ignored your child's cries and pleas for help with his tummy ache or headache or whatever was wrong. Would you be a good parent? Anyway, not so fast on this one. Jesus was careful about his words here. He didn't really say his dad would do it if it was his will. He said that if you ask and what you want is according to his dad's will, then he will hear you. Suppose he may or may not actually do anything for you. Enough, Christians. Enough. We are sick to death of your excuses. I mean, put up or shut up. Or at least have some integrity. Admit that Yahweh and Jesus do not live up to their promises. You can say you don't understand why. You can say it doesn't really make sense to you. You can say whatever you want to say, but please quit lying and pretending that prayers actually get answered. Weapons have no effect on Christians, and Christians never get sick and always live a long life. By the way, the New Testament promises that long life to you too. Ephesians 6, 1 through 3. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. That's promise. Obey your parents for a long life. And it's meaningless, isn't it? Or, Jesus didn't obey his parents, so his life was cut short. Oh, and please don't tell me that Christians say none of this. It wouldn't matter anyway because the Bible says it. But I myself was once told that if I got my life right with Yahweh, my physical health would improve. I don't remember what was wrong with me at the time, but I had the good sense to know that faith in Yahweh wasn't going to make a difference. We know you're telling us untruths, Christians, when you claim prayers are answered or Yahweh has fulfilled these many promises he's made. You should know it. We definitely know it. So why should we even listen to you when we know you're either lying or you're deluded? And yes, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Most of you are no doubt deluded, as I myself was. But look at this, please. Deuteronomy 18:22. When a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him. Don't be afraid of him. That's a good thing to remember. Don't be afraid. Furthermore, don't listen to anything he says. Now, as I said earlier, Yahweh's supposed to be the author of these promises. He's supposed to be the author of the whole Bible. If he indeed made these promises, then he's a liar. And if he didn't, then somebody made up what they wanted to say and put it in the mouth of a God they called Yahweh. Either way you look at it, the Bible speaks falsely. So please don't expect to be Superman who can't be harmed by bullets. That's really dangerous. More than that, don't worry about the threats Yahweh or whoever has spewed forth. If he can't keep his promises regarding blessings, he can't succeed with his threats of punishment either. So don't be afraid. Hollow promises and threats, that's all the Bible is. And they have proven themselves not to be real. Yes, proven themselves not to be real. Please think about that. And even if you don't want to think about it, if you'd rather live in your own little bubble of delusion, at least understand that some of us live in the real world. And your constant promises to us about how wonderful our life would be, both now and in the hereafter, if we joined you in your worship of Yahweh, and your constant condemnation and threats of punishment that'll come upon us if we don't, they mean absolutely nothing to us. They mean no more than my husband's FU. Thank you all. Bye.